Chapter 4. Dangerous Symptoms. Eminent men of science from the famous University of Columbia have made available to the world the alarming news that the fatal source of the diverse telluric commotions of former years are monstrous faults that exist in the bottom of the sea. The men of science calculate that these oceanic faults form a fissure about 90,000 kilometers in length, with a middle width of 40 kilometers and an average profundity of 2.5 kilometers. We were told that an elder Tibetan Lama, before dying, warned a certain gentleman about such oceanic cracks. Without a doubt, the Lamas do not ignore this fact. Scientific information states that these oceanic faults stretch from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean and from the Antarctic Ocean until the Arctic Ocean. These faults surround the American continent as well as the Asiatic continent, thus leaving, in the center of such frightening ring of submarine faults, the entire Pacific Ocean. The last investigation performed by scientists has demonstrated that these oceanic cracks depart from Antarctica and continue on very close to Cape Horn, where they diverged into two principal fissures, one that goes towards the east and the other which goes towards the west. The Pacific Ocean's fissure follows a very sinuous trajectory, almost bordering the American continent along the coastlines of Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, Oaxaca, and Guerrero, Mexico, Californian Gulf and Seattle, USA, Vancouver, Canada, and Alaska. This oceanic fissure splits in Alaska and continues its course along the Aleutian Islands. Another crack seems to pass through Alaska. The earthquakes in Fairbanks, situated in the center of that peninsula, have been very strong, such as the one that occurred in March 1964. The oceanic fissure of the Aleutian Islands goes towards Tokyo, Japan, dangerously touching the islands of Sapporo, Hokkaido, Oahu, Waihua, Kailua, and some others. A wise author states that some secondary fissures depart from Japan and go towards Hawaii. There is no doubt that the main crack goes towards the Philippines and New Zealand, and from there it returns to its point of departure situated in Antarctica. Thus, in this way, a tremendously dangerous magic circle is closed. There is no doubt that the fissure that goes towards the eastern world starts in mysterious Antarctica and then passes in front of the Cape of Good Hope, Madagascar, and the Arabian Sea in order to end in some unknown place in the Indian Ocean. Men of science state that the Atlantic Fault seems to have its origin in the Norwegian Sea. The extremely enigmatic course of this Atlantic Fault passes by the coastline of Spain, Portugal, and part of Africa, and then ends close to the Portuguese Guinea. By all means, it is clear that the most dangerous oceanic fault that inevitably will generate a tremendous cataclysm is the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. The news that constantly circulates in the newspapers around the world has confirmed that the lands which are most punished by earthquakes are precisely in the Pacific Ocean. These cracks in the maritime floor are dangerous symptoms that, without a doubt, are warning us of the proximity of a great tragedy. The times of the end have arrived, and we are in them. The sword of the cosmic justice menacingly weighs upon the head of the great harlot, this humanity. It is urgent to know that an entire system of cracks exists in the profundity of the seas, and that these are the concrete outcome of a totally defined planetary type of geological action. Already, some of those cracks are indeed so deep that they even have made the exterior waters of the oceans contact the interior fire, the magma of the Earth. In this moment of global crisis, water vapor is being produced under such intense pressure within the planetary organism that indeed the day will come in which any mountain, no matter how powerful it may be, will not resist this pressure and will burst asunder, snatched in the air and made to dust, as has already been prophesied by Muhammad in the Quran. A series of earthquakes have already begun, and it will only become more and more intense. The cities, like houses made out of a deck of cards, will fall and turn into dust. Earthquakes will swallow up this entire humanity. We must recognize the fact that this humanity is doomed. There is no remedy for this humanity. Therefore, it must perish. From the moment, as a testimony of this imminent great catastrophe, it is already undeniable that the coast of Chile is sinking, and that other diverse lands from this afflicted and martyrized planet are similarly sinking. Experts know very well that the sea has lost profundity in diverse parts of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. This is due to the fact that the bottom of the ocean floor has been continuously rising up towards the surface as a result of the internal swelling of the marine floor created by the sea's pressure. Scientists know very well that while the mountains sink, the sea's floor is rising. Without a doubt, great volumes of water are now in contact with the liquid fire, the magma, that runs through the interior of the Earth. Thus, the outcome will happen without delay. The steam's pressure has inevitably produced an intensive volcanic activity in conjunction with terrible and frightening earthquakes and sea quakes. The pressure of the interior of the Earth is horrific. And worst of all, as each minute passes, the pressure increases. The culminating moment is approaching, the moment when the internal pressure reaches its maximum limit. The catastrophe is about to happen. Any exterior phenomenon can generate this culminating doom. An atomic explosion, the passing of an outer space body extremely close to the Earth, an appropriately combined solar and lunar attraction phenomenon, etc. The explosion in the bottom of the seas will be frightful. The sun will become as black as sackcloth of hair, a sackcloth, and the moon will become as red as blood due to the reflection of the fire, the magma, that will surface upon the face of the Earth. The terrible sword of Damocles, menacingly appears upon the head of the great harlot, whose number is 666. The sins of the great harlot have reached unto heaven, and the flaming sword of cosmic justice will wound this humanity to death. Babylon the Great, this present humanity, mother of all types of fornication and abominations of the earth, will fall, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. This perverse civilization of vipers, this great Babylon, will burn with fire, because it has become millions of times more corrupt than Atlantis. So not of sinking or floods this time, but of fire. This great Babylon, this abominable modern civilization, has become the habitat of devils, the den of every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. The world is now shaken by earthquakes. These are dangerous indicators of a great tragedy that announces a worse catastrophe and various other catastrophes thousands of times worse than those which finished off Atlantis.